If you feel like you're drowning right now, it's because you are. 70% of Americans say the economy is rigged against them. Over half the country can't cover a $500 emergency. And yet housing prices are up 47% since 2020. Rent is up 30%, and groceries have jumped 25%. But your paycheck? Barely moved. The average new car now costs over $48,000, and student loan debt just hit $1.77 trillion. This isn't inflation. This is economic warfare. And you're the target. No politician is fixing it. No corporation is coming to help. This is what collapse looks like, and you're living in it. 10. The new American luxury. Having a day off. You want to know what luxury looks like in 2025? It's not a Rolex. It's not a Tesla. It's a Sunday with no shift. No emails. No second job. Just a quiet day where your body doesn't hurt, your brain isn't panicking over unpaid bills, and your phone isn't blowing up with another "we regret to inform you" email. That's the American dream now, rest. But good luck getting it. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, over 8 million Americans are now juggling 2 or more jobs, and not because they're ambitious, because they're desperate. And let's be real, those are just the ones being counted. That doesn't include gig workers who drive Uber at night, or the ones on Fiverr and DoorDash just to scrape together enough to afford rent and groceries in the same week. We don't have time anymore. Rest is now rationed, and companies love it that way. No one wants to admit it, but hustle culture was never about empowerment. It was about survival. Your PTO? Useless if you're terrified of falling behind on your workload. Your unlimited vacation? A joke in a world where you're expected to check Slack on the beach. And God forbid you take a sick day, half the workforce doesn't even get paid time off, and 34% of workers earning under $15/hour report going to work while actively sick. Because they have to. Because missing a shift means missing rent. This isn't just economic decay. It's cultural rot. We've turned rest into rebellion. Time off into a threat. You're not lazy, you're just tired. And America doesn't have room for tired people anymore. Not in a system where rest is reserved for the rich and burnout is a badge of honor. If your only chance to recover is a hospital bed, you're not living, you're surviving. Welcome to the burnout economy. 9. The middle class is gone, but nobody sent out the memo. There's a myth that just won't die. The myth of the middle class. You know, the one where dad's a plumber, mom's a nurse, there's a 2-car garage and a golden retriever. But that fantasy? That's long gone. And here's the kicker. We didn't even get a funeral. In 1971, the U.S. Census Bureau reported that 61% of American households were middle class. As of 2024, it's barely 43%. And the line keeps dropping. But the media, the politicians, and the corporations keep talking like it's still alive, like we're one good quarter away from everything being okay again. It's not. The cost of everything, housing, healthcare, education, food, transportation has soared, but wages? They've been flatlined for decades. Adjusted for inflation, the average American today earns less than they did in 1979. You heard that right. We're running faster and falling behind. And yet, everyone's still pretending we're doing fine. Let me tell you something. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, working 40+ hours a week, and still can't afford to take your kids to the dentist or buy real groceries instead of microwave garbage, you are not middle class. You're just surviving poverty with a little more credit. That's it. And don't get me started on college grads. They're drowning in student loans, living in their childhood bedrooms, and being told to just budget better. Meanwhile, 64% of Americans say they wouldn't be able to cover a $500 emergency without borrowing or selling something. That's not middle class. That's one ER visit away from total collapse. And the government? They still use averages and outdated metrics to mask the reality. Median household income is $74,580, they say. But that's a lie of averages. It doesn't account for the wealth gap, where the top 1% holds more wealth than the entire middle 60% combined. So let's just say it out loud. The middle class is dead. And no one is coming to save it. We're on our own. 8. We've become a nation of renters. Even when we own you. Think you own your home? That little slice of suburbia you finally managed to buy after a decade of saving and bidding wars and 7.8% mortgage rates? Think again. Because in this country, no one really owns anything anymore. Not your home, not your land, not your peace of mind. The banks own your mortgage. The county owns your property tax. And the insurance companies? They'll drop you for living too close to a forest, or charge you an extra $400 a month, because the climate is collapsing and your house might possibly catch fire. In 2023, the average annual property tax bill in New Jersey hit $9,527. California's not far behind. And guess what? Those taxes, they never go down. Even if your house value drops, the bill keeps going up. And if you miss a few payments, they'll seize your property like it was theirs all along. Because it is. And if you're renting, you already know you're just one market adjustment away from being priced out. Average rent in the U.S. is over $2,000 a month now. And that's just national average. Try living in Austin, or Nashville, or God forbid New York. Places that used to be affordable now feel like Monaco with potholes. And when corporate landlords buy up entire zip codes like BlackRock and Invitation Homes are doing, they jack up prices, refuse maintenance, and boot tenants with 30-day notices. What are you going to do? Take them to court. They are the court. There is no stability. There is no ownership. We've become tenants in our own lives. And if you think this is just about housing, you're not paying attention. Everything now is leased. Your car, your software, your entertainment, your healthcare. You don't buy, you subscribe, you rent, you pay forever. It's not ownership. It's lifetime servitude with a login. 7. Grocery stores are now status symbols. Nobody's talking about this, but the grocery store you shop at has become a class indicator. You think it's normal to spend $75 on a bag of tortilla chips, almond milk, and ground turkey? Because that's the new reality. According to the USDA, the cost of food at home has gone up 25% since 2020. And that's the conservative estimate. That's not filet mignon, that's chicken thighs and bulk rice. Basic items like eggs, butter, and fresh produce have become luxury goods. And the worst part? We've normalized it. We don't even blink when a gallon of milk is $5. Or when a dozen eggs cost $7 during a bad month. And now walking into a Whole Foods feels like entering a tech startup. Sleek, overpriced, full of people pretending they're not terrified of their receipts. You want to feed a family of 4 healthy meals for a week? That's $300 if you're lucky. More if you want organic. More if you live in a food desert, which is now nearly 17% of the country, including large chunks of Atlanta, Detroit, and Los Angeles. And don't think the poor are the only ones hurting. Middle-income families are maxing out credit cards just to fill the fridge. In fact, American credit card debt just hit $1.13 trillion for the first time in history. That's not from vacations. That's not from luxury splurges. That's from chicken diapers and gas. We are financing our groceries. And the cherry on top? Major grocery chains are posting record profits. Kroger, Walmart, Albertsons. They've quietly raised prices while quietly laying off workers. Meanwhile, shrinkflation means your family-sized cereal box now holds less cereal than a 2010 snack pack. So yeah, your grocery bag is empty because the system is full of lies. America's retirement plan is don't get sick. You want to know what the average American's retirement plan looks like? Hope you don't get cancer. Hope your spouse doesn't have a stroke. Hope your knees don't give out before Social Security kicks in, if it kicks in at all. Because the reality is horrifying. 40% of Americans aged 55 to 64 have zero retirement savings. Zero. As in nothing. And for the ones who do have savings, the median amount in 401k accounts for people in their 60s is about $87,000. That's not even 2 years of rent in most cities. And don't even think about healthcare, because Medicare doesn't cover long-term care, and a single ambulance ride can cost $2,500 out of pocket. Insulin? Hundreds a month? Dental? Not covered? Vision? Not covered? Hearing aids? You're on your own. So now you've got seniors taking jobs as Walmart greeters and DoorDash drivers, not because they want to stay active, but because their pensions are gone and their savings were wiped out by one medical emergency. In 2023, over 25% of Americans over 65 were still working. That number is expected to climb, because retirement isn't a phase anymore, it's a privilege. And let's not forget the millions of people who thought they were playing it safe with pensions or Social Security, both of which are now at risk. The Social Security Trust Fund is projected to run dry by 2033, at which point retirees will only receive about 77% of their expected benefits. And politicians, they're too busy arguing over TikTok bans and re-election ads to actually fix the system. So what's left? Just a ticking clock. If you're under 50, you're staring down a future where retirement means living in a camper van, rationing prescriptions, and praying that your GoFundMe goes viral. We built an entire economy that demands 40 years of labor and gives you 5 years of poverty in return. That's not a plan. That's elder abuse. 5. American healthcare is the richest death sentence on earth. Let's stop pretending the American healthcare system is a system at all. It's not. It's a racket. It's a bureaucratic meat grinder wrapped in a corporate logo. And here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Getting sick in the U.S. is one of the fastest ways to go bankrupt. Medical debt affects over 100 million people in America right now. That's nearly 1 in 3 adults. And it doesn't matter if you have insurance. Most of them do. Because American insurance isn't designed to cover you, it's designed to confuse you. Out-of-network billing, surprise charges, deductibles you'll never reach. The average deductible for employer-based health insurance is now $1,763. And for a family plan, it's more than $3,800. And you know what most Americans have in their savings? According to Bankrate, 57% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency. So now you're choosing between insulin and rent, between your kid's inhaler and your electric bill. You've got people crowdfunding organ transplants on GoFundMe, and 20-year-olds skipping the ER because they don't want to ruin their credit. That's not healthcare. That's Russian roulette. And for the elderly, it gets worse. Even with Medicare, the average out-of-pocket health spending for a retired couple is over $315,000 across their retirement years. And that doesn't include assisted living, which costs $5,000 a month on average, and isn't covered unless you're broke enough for Medicaid. It's a death trap. Literally. Medical errors are now the 3rd leading cause of death in the U.S., after heart disease and cancer. Think about that. You might survive your illness but die from the bill or the system that was supposed to heal you. Only in America can you be charged $12,000 for a single ambulance ride. And if you don't pay, collections, wage garnishment, bankruptcy. Your credit score becomes another casualty. This isn't broken. It's working as intended. The system exists to extract money from your pain. And the more broken you are, the more profitable you become. 4. The rise of the hidden poor. And you might be one of them. You know what's more terrifying than being visibly poor? Being poor on paper, but no one believes you. We've entered the era of the hidden poor. People with decent jobs, decent clothes, even degrees, but they're drowning in debt, juggling 3 side hustles, secretly skipping meals, and praying no one finds out how bad things are. They don't qualify for aid because they make too much, but they can't breathe financially. You want numbers? Here's one. 61% of U.S. adults live paycheck to paycheck. That includes 45% of people making over $100,000 a year. That's not a typo. 6 figures and still broke. Why? Because the economy has silently devoured any margin for error. Housing, food, childcare, healthcare, they've all exploded, while wages stayed frozen in time. So now, there's a new kind of poverty. The kind that wears business casual, owns a laptop, but can't afford therapy or take a sick day. This is the person at your office who always brings their lunch, not because they're healthy, but because they literally can't afford $13 for a salad. The barista who looks put together but sleeps in their car. The newlywed couple who look great on Instagram but have $80K in credit card debt and cry in the bathroom after checking their account balance. And no one talks about it, because it's shameful. Poverty in America is seen as a personal failure, not a systemic one. You get blamed, budget better, stop buying lattes. Meanwhile, the average cost of daycare has hit $11,000 a year per child. Rent for a 1-bedroom is over $1,800/month in most major cities. The average new car payment is $738/month. How exactly do you budget your way out of that? These people don't show up in poverty stats because they're working. They don't show up in unemployment because they're employed. But they are falling apart quietly, invisibly, desperately. So next time you see someone who looks like they should be fine, ask yourself, are they really surviving or just performing? 3. America's infrastructure is rotting, and we're still paying tolls. Let's talk about the ground beneath your feet, literally. Roads, bridges, pipes, power grids. You probably don't think about them until they collapse, which, by the way, is happening a lot more now. Over 43,000 bridges in the U.S. are considered structurally deficient. That's 1 in 3 in some states. And you're probably driving over one to get to your second job. Our water pipes? They leak 6 billion gallons a day. That's water we could be drinking instead, It's vanishing into the ground while entire towns like Flint, Michigan still don't have safe water. Our power grid? One big sneeze away from going dark. Texas already proved that. And it's not just about power outages anymore, it's about reliability. The US has more power outages per capita than any developed country. Our airports are ranked among the worst in the developed world. Our rail system is 50 years behind Europe. And you want to know the real kicker? We're still paying tolls. We're still taxed on every gallon of gas. We're paying fees and usage charges and surcharges and special assessments, all for a system that's falling apart while we're driving on it. You ever wonder where all that money goes? Because it sure isn't going into repairs. And don't even get me started on broadband internet. In 2025, 1 in 4 rural Americans still don't have reliable internet access. We are the country that invented the internet. And we can't even deliver it to 20 million people. You ever try applying for a job, homeschooling your kid, or running a business without internet? You're basically invisible. Infrastructure is supposed to be the skeleton of a nation. But ours is brittle, crumbling, and somehow still the most expensive in the world. Welcome to America, where your tax dollars vanish and potholes multiply, where we build a new stadium before we fix the lead in your water, and where every collapse gets labeled a freak accident until it happens again next week. 2. Our children are the most anxious, sick, and in-debt generation in history. We've officially failed the next generation. There's no sugarcoating it. Gen Z isn't soft, they're shell-shocked. They were born into terrorism, raised on mass shootings, came of age during a pandemic, and are now entering adulthood with climate collapse, economic ruin, and digital addiction baked into their lives. Anxiety, depression, ADHD, it's skyrocketing. According to the CDC, 1 in 3 teen girls in America has seriously considered suicide. 1 in 3. That's not a mental health crisis, that's a national tragedy. And instead of offering help, we hand them debt. The average college grad in 2024 is walking into the world with $37,338 in student loans, for a degree that increasingly doesn't even guarantee a job. And the pressure to succeed in this economy? It's constant. Side hustle, personal brand, LinkedIn optimization, college at 17, career planning at 14, anxiety at 10. They're learning to code while we forget to let them be kids. And even when they do everything right, they're still drowning. Wages haven't kept up, housing is out of reach, and now we're watching a generation raised on iPads, gamified learning, and dopamine loops trying to function in a world of burnout and instability. They don't want to buy homes. Not because they're lazy, but because they can't. They don't want kids, not because they're selfish, but because they can't afford to raise them. And let's not forget, most of them have never known a world without crisis. Every milestone has been overshadowed by disaster. School shootings, lockdown drills, inflation, political chaos. No wonder they're checking out. They're not unmotivated. They're exhausted. We were supposed to build them a future. We gave them anxiety and a $1.7 trillion student loan crisis instead. 1. The American dream is now paywalled. Here's the part no one wants to admit. The American dream? It still exists, but only for those who can afford it. Every ladder to success is now locked behind a paywall. Want to start a business? Better have $50K in startup capital. Want a good education? Better fork over $80K a year or take on crushing debt. Want a decent apartment in a safe neighborhood? $500/month, upfront, with good credit. Want health? Pay premiums. Want justice? Hire a lawyer. Want clean water, safe food, and breathable air? Cross your fingers and move to the right zip code. And that's the real crime here. It's not that success is impossible, it's that it's being auctioned off. Upward mobility has become a subscription model. The rich get the VIP pass. Everyone else gets stuck in the loading screen. In the 1940s, 90% of kids born into poverty eventually earned more than their parents. Today, barely 50%. We've broken the escalator, and no one's fixing it. Politicians will preach about opportunity, but none of them are canceling medical debt. None are dismantling Wall Street's stranglehold. They're too busy fundraising. Meanwhile, America's billionaires made over $1.8 trillion in profit since the pandemic began. The wealth gap is now wider than it was during the Gilded Age. So yeah, the dream is still there. You just need to pay extra to unlock it. And if you can't, sorry, you get the free trial version of America. The one with ads, restrictions, no support, and no escape. So if you're sitting there wondering why it feels like everything is harder now, it's because it is. You're not imagining it. You're not lazy. You're surviving a system that was never designed for you to win. They sold us the American dream, then jacked up the price until only billionaires could afford the deluxe version and left the rest of us choking on interest rates, insurance premiums, and lies. This isn't just a rough patch. It's the unraveling. And the scariest part? Most people won't realize it until it's too late. But you do. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait for help. Prepare. Rethink everything. Build something that isn't designed to collapse under the weight of someone else's profit. Because what's coming next? It's not a recession. It's not a downturn. It's a reset. And only the ones who saw it coming will be ready.